everyone, it's Ashwin Rao. I hope you're all doing great today. I was inspired to create this little video by the shoegazing blog run by Jesper, and Jesper featured the Split Toe Derby, noting that it was probably the most popular model of the 2020s, and I would agree. The Split Toe Derby often appealed to my aesthetic even more than the Oxford. I appreciated the open channel lacing system, which you can see along here, where there's essentially an opening at the facing where it joins the vamp, and that allows for more adjustments and fit and just the skill and craftsmanship that goes into creation of some of the details, such as the pie crust aprons that we see in a number of these models, and the little details and the variations on the themes that can go into this particular design really make it a versatile pair, let alone how well it fits into the modern man's wardrobe. Just to preview the very first pair here, this is possibly one of my most special pairs because it's a bespoke pair made for me by Bob Bautista of RAB Bespoke. This is my own last created to form this shoe, which I purchased and designed with Bob about 3 years ago. Took about a year to make, as most bespoke shoes, minimum a year. And what you can see here is there's a number of features as I was getting into higher end shoes that I wanted to feature, including a hand sewn pie crust apron. This model has a more traditional raised stitch on the split toe. Some people call this a Y-front derby, I believe. And this model also has a 360-degree Norwegian welt and a Conceria Zonta suede leather. I wanted a suede model to add to the more casual look along with this 360-degree Norwegian welt, which is ornamental, but also quite functional, and I thought adds a very unique statement to a shoe that really is one of a kind, and I wanted a one-of-a-kind shoe for my bespoke particular pair. It comes with a JF&J Baker oak bark tanned leather sole and really is built to withstand all elements. I was able to add some contrast laces from Mason & Smith to just add to the overall aesthetic of this beautiful shoe that is a permanent staple in my wardrobe. I have a number of other pairs here that you can see across the range of both makes, styles, and makers, let alone the leathers that are used are all different here. We're gonna start with this pair. This is probably the lowest end pair of this entire group, and yet none of these pairs are particularly low end. This is a model called the Yeosal Thompson, I believe. The Yeosal Thompson is a derby, and this is actually a variation because this does not have a split toe. There is a version that has the split toe. This has a pie crust apron, and for all intents and purposes gets lumped into my split toe collection because it shares almost all of the other stylistic cues here. But keep in mind that you can get a pie crust apron on a derby without the split toe, depending on how the leather is chosen. Part of the reason I wanted to showcase this model is because it has a few popular and a few unique features. It has an embossed grain sienna hatch grain leather from the Horween Tannery, which is quite a well-regarded popular leather amongst split toe derbies and amongst various makes in the higher end men's shoe wear, but it's relatively approachable price point wise. This is a pair made by Yeosal, and Yeosal contracts with a manufacturer in China to manufacture their shoes. So you see a lot of higher end shoes now coming out of China. There are a few concessions here. For example, the back heel seam, which aids in the construction and lasting of this shoe. Now this, despite being the lowest end in this particular lineup, is a hand-welted, hand-lasted shoe with hand-stitched outsoles, and does have a semi-blinded waist. It's not actually a true blind waist. If you really look in the edge here, you can see the stitching both sides, but it's certainly recessed well enough to look like a blind waist. You can see this squared off edge here going into a beveled, rounded waist here. One thing that I really like about this model as I chose it was this more spade-like sole, as well as the last, which is a soft square last. I believe it's the YSQ last from Yeosol. And so just a very classic makeup that you're gonna see various versions of. Next up, we're gonna pick up this pair from renowned shoemaker St. Crispin's. You can see here now the split toe in the front of the shoe, the hand-sewn apron, but this is not your traditional pie crust apron, so there's a little variation there. You can see that this toe has a apron that almost has a V-tip shape. It's not quite a V-tip, but it has that vibe to it. This is made from a Inca grain leather. Inca grain is an embossed calf leather that, again, if properly lasted, almost has these features of rolls. Most traditional derbies have 5 eyelets, which you can see right here. The St. Crispin's model that I have, I got with a pegged waist, as well as Vibram rubber toppies on the heel and the forefoot, and a nailed toe instead of a toe plate, you can see there. That will help reduce wear and tear and toe drag right there. And you can see the heel block, more traditional squared off heel block, and a square heel here. For many years when I first entered the game, I would say St. Crispin's was regarded as amongst the very top makers. They do have some unique design features. Now this looks like a seamless heel, but if you turn the shoe here, you can see that the split on the heel is actually right here. So this is not a true seamless heel, but has an offset seam that makes it seem as such. And it's a nice feature that kind of hides that back heel seam, yet makes the shoe a little bit easier to last. This is also essentially a largely handmade shoe, beautifully done, quite a high-end price point if you were to get it new. I got it on the used market for a reasonable price. We're going to another MTO here from one of my absolute favorite shoemakers in the world. This is a pair by Timberly 3, formerly Hephaestus shoemaker. This is a leather that actually is a Shinky shell cordovan in almost a whiskey color. I'm not sure what the Shinky nomenclature is, but this is a beautiful leather. Shinky shell cordovan has slightly different properties. You can see that it almost has these tiny little micro creases in it. So it doesn't roll quite the same as Horween. I think this is also maybe a thinner cut of this leather. And Thon Lei, who created this shoe, put a nice darkened kind of burnishing patina on the toe here. He does an incredible job with his hand-sewn pie crust apron. So this is a more traditional pie crust apron that you can see here, done by hand. You can see the incredibly clean work done on this reverse skin stitch split toe. Very, very well done. This particular model has a 180-degree, more traditional Norwegian welt with the alternating stitches you can see there. Beautifully done on a chiseled square last. Just a beautiful makeup and one of my favorite all-time shoes. This is one that gets a lot of wear in my collection. Speaking of beautiful shoes, let's go to its neighbor. This, I'm sure, may be familiar to many of you. This is a model from Antonio Micariello, one of the world's best shoemakers and certainly one of the more affordable shoemakers offering shoes at a near bespoke quality out of Italy. And this is his Centurion model, which I've featured in other videos, featuring a hand-sewn pie crust apron with contrast stitching, which you can see right here. The split toe here, and this particular model features a polo suede upper, I believe from the CF Stead company. I mentioned the contrast stitching, which adds to the detail and cleanliness here. You see the back heel counter without that split along the back seam, and you can see that there's a slight taper in this heel block, very slight, but it's there. You can also see that this particular model has this offset heel block, which is one of my favorite elements. You see this subtle fiddleback waist and a blind stitching on the edge of that waist, both sides. This is a true blind stitch. And so just a beautiful model meant to be used in a little bit more of an informal manner because it features the suede leather. A really, really handsome shoe. The final pair that I want to feature is a shoe that I have actually not talked about since the very early time starting this YouTube channel. And this is a model by Paolo Scafora, one of the most underrated high quality makers in the world. This is their Norwegian Split Toe Derby with a more recessed hand-sewn apron. This is not a pie crust apron, but you can see how beautiful this work is. This is almost a Y-front derby. Again, you see the 5 eyelets here. You see this stitching around the collar of the shoe that some of this type of model will feature. You can see a separate piece of leather adorning the back heel and hiding what would otherwise be a seam in that area, and a very ornamental 270-degree Norwegian welt design here. Another really neat feature of Paolo's shoes are this emblazoned logo that he places on his sole and the scalloped heel block here. More of a block style heel, but just a very beautiful shoe built off of a more rounded last, you can see there. This is a shoe I got from the Noble Shoe, led by Costas Mandelaris. Finally, I wanted to conclude this video with this pair here, a particularly special model, an example of the Norwegian Split Toe Derby. And this is by renowned and emerging shoemaker, Acme Shoemaker out of China. This features my only pair with shark skin leather and a hand-done patina in a almost like an ocean blue. It's like a dark blue, almost blue-green color with gray infusion on this shark skin. You see the 5 eyelet design. You see that split toe, which is kind of a remarkable feat to accomplish on shark skin and still make it elegant like that. This has a hand-sewn pie crust apron. And you can see how this ultra rugged leather, when done the right way, can still have really nice, elegant tones here. See this very elegantly scalloped heel block right here with the gentle taper that matches the pitch of the upper right here, and the angle of this particular back heel counter right there, very elegantly done. Beautiful sole work done with this lovely fiddleback waist and toe taps and nice heel block, all coming together to form a particularly smart looking shoe from Acme Shoemaker. This is definitely one of my highest end pairs. But you can really find split toe derbies across a wide range of different levels, quality, fit, and finish. There's just a number of different models that you can get into at any number of price points. But if you're looking a little higher, I would certainly think of starting with a brand like Yosol or October 10th for around that $500 to $600 price point, and then going up from there. You should also scour the used market. I got this pair used, and I got that pair used. So if you do some careful searching, you're gonna find a nice pair for yourself. The Norwegian Split Toe Derby, featuring a wide range of leathers and a wide range of makers in various incarnations. So with that, I'm gonna leave it be, and you have a good one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.